Today I'm going to be looking at the Unit 8 review. This is just going to be the word problem worksheet that I gave you guys in class. Again, make sure you guys actually try to do this stuff, and then once you can't do it, once you can't figure it out, then watch the video, try to figure it out from there. Okay, looking at number 1 first, we are given the sum of a number and its square is 156. Well, if we don't know what that number is, we can call it x, so the sum means to add a number and its square is 156. So we know x plus x squared is 156. Well, now I'm just going to be solving the quadratic. So if I subtract 156 over to the other side to make this thing equal to 0, then I'm going to order it. So I have x squared plus x minus 156 equals 0. If you want to, you can factor it from this point. Still equals 0. We know x is going to be our first term. X is going to be our first term in the other, and multiplies to be a negative, so when you know they have to be different signs. Now we need two numbers that multiply to be 156, whose difference is 1. I think that's going to be 12 and 13, so if I try it, 12 times 13 is 156, so that is good. So I'm going to have 12 and 13 as my numbers, but now I got to figure out where they go. So if I have plus 1 in the middle, well, if I do plus 13 minus 12, then positive 1 will be the difference. They multiply to be a negative 156, so that's good. So now that we have something times something else equals 0, we know that we can say x plus 13 equals 0 and x minus 12 equals 0. So now my first number is x equals negative 13, and my next number is going to be x is 12. There are 1 and 2 solutions. For number 2, we say find two consecutive negative odd integers whose product is 399. Well, consecutive odd integers is like 1 and 3, so to get from 1 to 3 we added 2. So if I say my first one is x, then if it's their product, I multiply the 2 together, and it's supposed to equal 399. Well, 1, and this is like 3, so I'd add 2 to get to the next number. Their product is 399, so they multiply to be 399. And now it's just a matter of distributing. So x squared plus 2x equals 399. And if I make it equal 0 by moving 399 over, subtract it from both sides. So I have x squared plus 2x equal minus 399. Equals 0. Now it's just a matter of factoring. So you can either use your calculator at this point or factor it like I'm going to do. I know my first terms are x. They multiply to be a negative, so I know one's a positive, one's a negative. Pretty sure it's going to be 21 and 19, so if those are my two numbers, their difference is 2. They multiply to be 399. I'm going to have a positive 2, so I have plus 21 minus 19. I have something times something equals 0. So I will have x plus 21 equals 0 and x minus 19 equals 0. So now this will be negative 21. This will be 19. But now, notice in the directions it says find two consecutive negative odd integers. Well, this one's negative, but this one's not, so my negative numbers are really 21 and negative 19. Both consecutive. Well, they are consecutive, they're both odds, and they're both negative. Number 3, we're given the length of a rectangle is 5 centimeters less than twice its width. So the length is 5 centimeters less, so I already wrote it wrong. 5 centimeters less than twice the width, so 2w minus 5. It also gives us that the area is 88. So if we know our area is 88, well, you find the area by saying length times width equals your area, which is 88. And if we know length is 2w minus 5, then I can substitute it in. So I have 2w minus 5 times w equals 88. Now it's just a matter of solving. So I'm going to distribute my w through. So I'll give me 2w squared minus 5w. And if I subtract 88 to make it equal 0, it'll be minus 88 equals 0. Okay, so this one I'm actually going to use my calculator, so we would punch this into our y equals, so I'd say y equals 2x squared minus 5x minus 88. I'll find my zeros, so one of them will be negative 11 over 2. The other one will end up being W is 8. But since I know that I can't have a negative width, well, it has to be the 8 then. Since we know the width is 8, we can say that the length is 2 times the width minus 5, so 2 times 8 minus 5. So the length is 16 minus 5, which will come out to be 11. So our width is 8, our length is 11. And in part 3b, it asks for the perimeter of the rectangle. And since perimeter is just all the sides added up, if this is 8 and this is 11, then this is 11. And this side is 8, so I have 16 plus 22. So my perimeter will be 38. Okay, number 4. Find the dimensions of a rectangle whose length is 4 meters more than its width and whose area is 252. So the length is 4 more than the width, so length is 4 more than the width, and we're also given that the area is 252, which is length times width is 252. So since we know length times width is 252, and my length is 4 plus W, I can say 4 plus W times W is 252. So then once again, just like the last one, distribute the W to both of them. So we'll have 4W plus W squared equals 252. Move over the 252 and put these in order. So W squared plus 4W minus 252 equals 0. And we're ready to factor or solve our quadratic. But once again, I'm just going to use the calculator and get my W's, which in this instance we will get W is negative 18 and W is 14. But again, width can not be a negative measurement, so I cannot use this negative 18, so the width has to be 14. Since the width is 14 and the length is 4 plus that, the length must then be 18. Number 5. A rocket is fired upward with an initial velocity of 168 feet per second using the formula h equals rt minus 16t squared to determine when the rocket is 360 feet high. So if we have h equals rt minus 16t squared, h is our height, r is our rate or velocity, t is our time in both instances. So if we want to know when it's 360 feet high, well, there's our height, and it tells us that the initial velocity is 168 feet per second, and I want to know when it is that time, so that's what we're actually trying to figure out. So once again, just like before, it's just quadratic, so we need to set it equal to 0. So we have 168t minus 16t squared minus 360 equals 0. It doesn't really matter the order, so I'm just going to use the calculator to figure this out. So I plug it in, find my zeros, and for this one I'm going to have 2 zeros at t equals 3 and 7.5. So when this rocket is fired, let's see if I can draw a rocket. Flames coming out, and it's going along. And we just figured out that if this is our 360 feet mark right there, here is 3 seconds, and here is 7.5 seconds. It's going to cross it when it goes up, it's going to cross it when it comes back down, and then eventually it'll hit the ground and crash and a bunch of smoke and flames and whatever. Right? Cool. Okay, and we can actually, 5b actually asks when the rocket crashes. Well, if it's crashing, it's on the ground, so things that are on the ground don't have any height at all. So we know our height is 0, we still have the same initial velocity, and we're using the same formula. The only difference is that our height is 0 instead of 360. So once again, I'm just going to use the calculator, plug it in, find the zeros, and we will get that eventually, after 10.5 seconds, our rocket will hit the ground. Yay!